Hello, everyone. This is Danny, and you're watching Saturday Stitching, where every day can be Saturday if your stitching is going well. Yeah, I know that's corny. Um, it's Saturday, February 2nd, 2019. Um, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat, as I say every time, this is going to be kind of short. This week, it really is going to be kind of short because I don't have a lot to show. Um, I barely got any stitching done this week. So, first off, I am trying once again to do something slightly different to accommodate for the fact that my camera is shite. Let's be honest. I'm using my camera again on my laptop because it's simpler that way. So, but it's just not clear and the color on it is not very good. I'm not real happy with that. So, what I'm doing this week is I have posted pictures on my Instagram account of the last few things that I did. Partly because I realized that I hadn't posted any pictures on Ravelry, but also so if you're an Instagram person, I will always show what I'm working on my video. But if you want to actually see it a little bit better, because I know on the video it's not going to have good color or anything. So if you want to see it a little bit better, then you can go to Instagram. But you don't have to. Like I said, I always show it here on the video because I know everybody has their particular, I do YouTube, but I don't do Facebook, or I do Facebook, but I don't do Instagram. I don't, because I was like that. I had several things that I did and didn't do. So I put my Instagram handle down in the description. And so if you want to just go, I think you can still go to Instagram and look at people's stuff without actually having to have an account because I don't have my account set to private on Instagram. So I think you can just go and look and not have uh, an account. So if you want to look at my pictures that way, at least you'll get a better idea, a better sense of what color my stuff is. And yes, I am looking down at my hands because I am still working on the only thing that I managed to work on this week. So today's Saturday stitching is a real Saturday stitching. I am doing this as a live stream, but as usual, since I don't announce my live streams, there is, because I never know what time I'm going to get on, there isn't actually anybody in the live stream. So I am treating this as me just recording a video. And if anybody pops into the live stream, I'll acknowledge them. If not, well, I almost skipped this live stream today, to be honest, but my eldest daughter, who does not live at home, checked into the last two live streams. I guess she was off work. So I know that my kids, I have two of my daughters away from home right now, and I know that my daughters away from home like it when I make videos. So I stuck to the schedule, even though I don't have much of anything to show, just so that they could hear their dear mother's voice. Um, and I am stitching as I make this video, partly because, like I said, I didn't get much done as far as stitching this week, and I it's easier for me to talk with something in my hand, but also the lighting that I'm using because I'm filming this at about what time is it? Okay, it's about 6:15 p.m. Eastern time, so it's already after dark here. So I'm having to use a light, but the light is pretty much in my face. So even if I looked at the camera, I can't really see anything. And so I can see what's in my hand better than I can see the camera. So it's more comfortable for me to look down at my hands. So I hope you guys won't mind. Um, like I said, you can pretend that we're just doing a friendly little stitching bitch and that I'm stitching. So, okay, that's enough chatter on that. Um, so I want to go ahead and show and talk a little bit on what I did work on this week so that because I like to front load my stitching stuff up front. So those of you who only came to see the whips and didn't come for the chat, y'all can, see what I did and then turn the video off. I'm not going to keep anybody here for all of my chatter. So, I mentioned last week, and I included the link, I believe, last week for Unraveled Mittens stash busting sampler Afghan crochet along. I think I got the whole title right and all the words in order. She already has two. She's doing two squares a month, so that by the end of the year you will end up with 24 squares to put into an Afghan, and it's somewhat of a mystery crochet along because she's not like telling you the whole pattern ahead of time, which is what I wanted because I felt like if there was something where I'm getting a little bit at a time, kind of like the same concept behind those serial reading apps, it feels daunting to read all of Jane Austen's Persuasion, just have the whole book at once. But if you get a little chunk every once in a while, for some people, it's easier. Oh, I'll read this chunk and then read the next chunk when it comes. So I felt like it would be easier for me if I got the pattern little by little, that it might be more, and it's just more fun that way, I think, to not know the pattern ahead of time and get it little by little. Um, so as I said, I signed up for two. Well, didn't really sign up because it's not really any sign ups. It's just those are the two that caught my eye at the beginning of the year when I decided I wanted to do something about this stash. um, Crochet Alongs, and Beatrice Ryan crochet mystery crochet along, and then this stash busting one. This one is being done in squares, um, and the Beatrice Ryan one, which I have not started yet, is being done in. I thought it was being done in squares, and I saw that first square, and I thought, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do this one. And then she gave the second clue. Hers is only for 12 weeks. It's not for like the whole year. Hers is like every week or every other week for 12 weeks, something like that. But she it turns out that it's like you're working from the center outward. So the first, she did several rounds at once, which made it look like, oh, there's a, not a square but a rectangle. There's a big rectangle, and then I thought there was going to be another whole rectangle for the next clue, but actually it's just like three or four more rows added on to that first one. So I'm reconsidering that one, even though the comments were that it was rather complicated to do, but I still might give it a go because I still have a bag of um, Karen Simply Soft yarn that I want to get rid of. Well, not get rid of, I want to use it up. The colors are really nice, and I've always liked the feel of that yarn, but I don't use Karen Simply Soft a lot, so I have like a small bag of scraps that I want to use up because it doesn't mix. The majority of the yarns that I have are worsted weight, and that stuff that mixes well with Red Heart Super Saver. Um, Karen Simply Soft is supposedly worsted weight, but it's slightly thinner than Red Heart Super Saver, and it has that slicker, shinier feel, so it doesn't really mix well with that yarn. So I really want to use up all of that, hopefully in a single project, and be done with it, you know. So that's that crochet along. But the one that I did work on this week, because she's just doing single squares, the Unraveled Mitten, I don't know the name of the designer on that blog, but she's doing single squares. so that you can sample different stitches. And so this, the first square, the first two are already up, but I just started the first square this this past week. If I had started when she posted it, then I would have been starting the second square this past week. But so it goes. I was trying to finish that dog sweater first and get that done. So the first square is just one stitch, same stitch basically back and forth. It is the herringbone half double crochet. And a lot of people are, there's a hashtag for the Stash Bustings um, crochet along called 2019 Stash Busting CAL, I think is the hashtag on Instagram where people are posting their squares. And I posted a photo of my square in progress, but here it is right here. Hopefully you can see the color on, as I said, the color on this um, webcam is very washed out. So I know you can't see what color that is. It's a pale lilac, I would say. Almost a lilac gray combination. And a lot of people, I was debating on whether to do the square just all in the lilac. Because basically you're doing this stitch and then I think there's a single crochet that you do all around the edges when you're done. You're doing like 34 rows of this. So you end up with like a 12-inch square, depending on your gauge. I'm not paying attention to gauge, right? Because I'm just trying to use up squares. I'm mean, use up yarn. So I did not do a gauge swatch, not paying attention, don't care. So, but the one that the designer posted on her, some people are doing all one color, some people are doing one color and a different color on the outside. It's pretty much play around with how you want to do your colors. I'm thinking that I might do mine the way the designer did hers, which she did mostly one color, one of those color block, almost Mondrian type thing, where if the majority of it is the lighter color, and then the last few rows she did a darker color, and then use that same darker color to go around for the edging. So I think I might do that because I have these. You see these in the Instagram picture as well. I have these. These are flowers that were for another, I think it was dahlias. I think the flower on the Afghan square was a dahlia. And I made a bunch of those. I made like 5 full squares and then started to do with the dahlia being yellow. And then I started doing these purple ones and I was going to do the green leaves and then the black on the outside. But I don't know what happened. I got tired of the project. I moved on to something else. It was at least 10 years ago, if not more. So I think maybe that was back when 10, 15 years ago when most of my friends or acquaintances were, still having babies. So I was making baby sweaters and stuff. So I probably stopped making the Afghan to do a baby sweater and then just never got back to it. I can't remember what, but I still have those squares that I never unraveled, and they're part of the pile of yarn stuff that was in the bag that I showed last week that I am going to unravel. So I think what I'm going to do is unravel these because I don't know if you can see in this light, but they're like a dark purple. So you got the light lilac sort of thing, and then you have the dark purple on the outside. There's a shadow. Whatever. So I think that'll look nice together. It makes me think of like grape soda, grape soda or something. So I think that'll go nice together. And then the second square is a it's something that has like bobbles. It looks like going on a diagonal on the square. So, but you would think I would be done with this. This is all that I've gotten done this week. This is all that this is like I've just done a row or two since I was sitting here talking to you. So I think I've got 17 rows maybe. So I'm about halfway through this. You would think that I could, that's hence the title of today's live stream. Why am I crocheting so slow? Crochet is supposed to go quickly. I thought I would whip this out. I honestly thought, because I started this last week, like Monday, I think. So I thought that I would actually finish both squares this week and have them both to show. And I don't know. I don't know what happened. I do know part of what happened was that I somehow made an error because this is a half double crochet where you, well, I'm not even going to describe the stitch. You can go look it up if you want to, but because I don't do tutorials among other things that I don't do. So, but half double crochet is close enough to double crochet that if you're not paying attention, this is a semi-mindless stitch for me. It may be mindless for other people. It's semi-mindless for me because I got to like in the middle somewhere here and that found a whole section of stitches about like this that were, because these stitches are supposed to, if you look at it closely, I don't know if you can see that, but the stitches tilt. That's where you get the herringbone. Because if you've ever seen herringbone cloth, it has, you know, little like stripy things that tilt in opposite directions. One row all goes this way, and then the other row all goes that way. And so this has something of that effect, which I couldn't really see very well until I made the mistake in the middle and actually did about that much in just regular double crochet, and then all of a sudden you could really see the stitches standing straight up amongst the ones that were all going this way on either side of them. So I had to rip all the way back because I was up about this far, and then I noticed the mistake way down here, and I debated for about 5 minutes with myself as to whether I should rip it out, because in the past, if you've watched my videos before, in the past I was one of those people who was like, I'm going to forge ahead. I don't care that there's a mistake. I'm going to forge ahead. And one of the whips that I'm working on now, which is a sweater, has a mistake in the lace going down the front, and I'm like, I am not starting this over. I am not starting this over. This will be a practice sweater, and I'll do better next time because I am not starting this over. So I've always kind of worked past the mistake and fudged the numbers on the other end if I was, you know, if I accidentally had too many stitches or not enough stitches or whatever, I was not going back for a mistake because I work so slowly. And this, but I said to myself last year, or maybe it was the year before. Yeah, it was the year before because it was 2017. This is 2019. I said I was going to do better as far as mistakes, and if there is an error, pull it out so that I can be, so I can feel better about my work when I'm done. So so that's what I did. I ripped it out, and then I found what looked like a hole, so I ended up ripping it out again. So I ripped it out twice last night, and then this morning I didn't get any stitching done until late. And then between that and work and homework, I let's just say I marvel once again at all these people who have channels and have little children underfoot and work job outside jobs, and they're more hands-on parents than I ever was because they actually cook dinner and clean their house, which I don't. So so I don't know how they manage to get as many projects done as they get done because I couldn't even get a 12-inch square done in a week. So that is why I'm sitting here stitching while I talk to you. So so that is the end of the show and tell portion of this video. I may talk a little bit more about yarn as I go along, but I may not. So if you only came to see what I was working on, all I got done this week, the long and short of it is all I got done this week is about half of what is this? 6 inches, 5, 6 inches of a 12-inch square, and hopefully I will have more done next week because this is embarrassing enough that I almost didn't do a video. So hopefully I will have this square and at least one other square done next week. Although I'm taking on 2 more classes that start on Tuesday because I had 2 late start classes. So I don't know. So that's the end of the yarning talk. The rest of this is just going to be talkity talk for another 10 minutes, I say, because my daughter just showed up. So I should at least give her 10 minutes of chattity chat. Um, in the because that's what she logged on for, to say hello to her mother. Hello. So 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 what else has been on my mind? I mentioned the pictures on Instagram. I showed my square. Um, I've been checking out some other. I've been checking out some other videos of yarny people online to kind of because that helps me get in the mood to stitch. When I see other people showing what they've worked on, that gets me in the mood. Because part of, like I said, I kind of have not exactly a love hate relationship with stitching, but it's like I want, as I've said before, to I want to have the finished objects in my house. I want to be able to say that yes, I made this, but I don't always want to do the stitching itself. I want to have the end product, but I don't always want to do the stitching itself. And I enjoy stitching more when, like right now, when I am talking on a live stream because it makes it less awkward for me to talk if I'm stitching while I'm talking. So I enjoy stitching more when I'm doing this or like when I'm at a friend's house and there's, some sort of gathering or something. It's easier for me to talk to a bunch of strangers if I'm sitting on the couch and we're all drinking coffee or whatever and I have a project in my hand. It makes it easier for me to talk. I feel just less awkward that way. So that's when I enjoy stitching. But then there are other times, like when I'm at home, which is most, 99.9% of the time, I am at home and I don't drive, I don't get out. And so when I'm at home, there's too many other temptations as far as watching TV, because I like to, for instance, I like to watch things on Netflix that have subtitles. I cannot stitch and watch a Korean movie with subtitles because I have to read the subtitles. So I can't stitch and read the subtitles at the same time. Um, but I also Sometimes I can stitch and read a book, depending if I get my setup just right and have my tablet sitting in a certain way and make the font really big, then I can stitch. And if the stitching is something really simple like this square, then I can stitch and read at the same time. Um, but I don't always do that. I can stitch and listen to audiobooks, but I don't always remember to do that. Usually when I'm like if I'm watching a video or I'm watching a movie or something like that, I'm usually while I'm doing that, I'm looking up stuff on the internet, or I am playing some sort of silly, you know, some silly plant vegetables and build your village game on my iPad. For some reason I like those, especially at night when it gets close to time to go to bed. That's when I usually have time to stitch, is when it gets close to time to go to bed. And that brings on another problem, which is it's dark. It's too dark. Okay, this glare. Let's see what we can do about this. Okay, hopefully y'all can still see me because at this point the light has been in my eyes enough that I can't even see. So hopefully y'all can still see me. Okay, let's see. I'm reading the chat from my lovely daughter. Let's see. A lot more work done when she's playing Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, not something I do. But let's see. Yeah, my daughter says she hates working while she's watching something new because she's afraid she's going to miss something like a dramatic glance. Exactly. Exactly. You can hear, even if it's in English, you can hear what's going on, but you may not see somebody, giving somebody the side eye or whatever on a TV show. So you want to pay attention if there's something that's going to be on the screen for a split second. So all of those things, I just tend to not pick up. The bottom line is I tend to not pick up my stitching at night when I get done. I have to remind myself. And most people would say, well, if you have to remind yourself, then it's not something you really want to do. But the thing is that I miss it when I don't do, like this whole past year that I haven't been making videos and I haven't been stitching. I've missed the stitching and I've missed the making of videos, even though when I'm making the videos, it's like, oh, this is so much work. This is so much, I have to set this up and I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to, make my hair look cute and all of that kind of stuff. It seems to be just too much. But when I don't do it, I miss it. So, and it just occurred to me as I was saying that that's probably what it is for these people who exercise. These people who run. I have friends in my Facebook feed who run, and it's like I can't understand because in the same breath they'll say, I hate running, I hate this part, and it hurts, and it's this and it's that, and it's like, well, why are you doing it? At least I can say with the stitching, I don't hate stitching. There are just times when there's a lot of times when I'd rather be doing something else. But then it's like there's a hump. It's like in the beginning of the project, I'm excited about it because it's the beginning and it's a new yarn and it's interesting to a new stitch I've never done before. And then I get about they say that a marriage or a relationship has a 7-year itch. My relationship with a pattern has a 4-inch hump, I think, because I get about 4 inches in, and it's like, I do not want to do any more of this. I am tired of looking at this. I am tired of looking at this, especially something like this where it is the same stitch for the entire thing. I get about 4 inches in, and it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I still have to do how many more? I have to do 8 more inches of this to get 12 inches. I don't want to do any more of this. But then if I can push through that 4 inch hump, then I get to a part toward the end when there's like that much left at the end that's like, oh, I'm almost done. And then I'll be able to show this off and it'll be really cool and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not, the 4 inch hump is not so bad if there's like a change to the pattern. Like if I go 4 inches and then there's something else I have to do, change stitches or something like that, then that gives me a little bit more interest. But then those projects have their own problem because if I if there's too many changes in the project that I have to pay attention to it, then that's not a project I can take with me in the car or take with me, you know, to sit. Like I can't work on that kind of project while I'm talking to you on this live stream because then I'd have to pay attention to my instructions and looking. So I can't do that kind of project while I'm talking to you. So those kind of projects get set aside because they're too fiddly, what I call too fiddly. Either they have something like they have DPNs that slip out, like when you're making a socks or a hat, or there's just too many changes, or like with the sports blanket, there is a chart that I have to follow to make sure that the picture is going to come out right. So it's like I can't just work, work, work. I have to go, okay, I did 12 of these black stitches, and I have to do four of these white stitches, and then I have to do two more black, and then I have to do, yeah, too fiddly, too fiddly. So those are the ones that I hardly ever pick up. This It's just every project has a reason why I'm not picking it up. Yet I want to do the project. I want to be able to say that I have finished this. I want to be able to say that I have made it. When you see, like for instance, the sports blanket, my daughter says that's why she likes making earrings, quick satisfaction, and that's how I feel about like baby sweaters. There's a pattern called the 5 hour baby sweater that I have made at least 10 times, back when everybody was still having babies, because it's it's just enough interest that it I never got bored with it, but it was easy enough to do that I didn't feel like it was too fiddly. And it I don't know why. If you tell me something takes 5 hours, even if it takes me longer than 5 hours, knowing that it will take 5 hours gives me hope. And it feels like, oh, well, this isn't going to take forever. This isn't going to take me weeks and weeks to make because it says 5 hour baby sweater. So if the average person, it takes them 5 hours, maybe it'll take me 10 hours. So I'll get it. There's hope that I can get it done this week. You know what I'm saying? But so I made a lot of those baby sweaters, but honestly, I have no need to make those baby sweaters anymore because nobody's having babies. All of my peers have had their babies, and we're right on the cusp of some of their babies being about to have babies, but we're not there yet. And none of my babies are having babies. They better not be, because I do not want to be anybody's grandma. I don't want to be anybody's nana. I don't want to be anybody's grandmère. I don't want to be anybody's abuela. I don't, nothing. No, 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 no. So, so that's enough of that. That's enough of that. So what have I been doing this week if I haven't been stitching? Well, I've been doing my homework. Luckily, I was doing pretty well last week as far as staying ahead and not working till the very last minute on my projects. So hopefully that streak will continue because, as I said, I have two more classes that were late start classes. So they're going to be starting next week. And the thing with the late start classes is that they start a month later, but they still pack in the same amount of work that you would get in a full semester. You just have a month's less time. So you're off to a running start on those classes with a lot more work from day one. So my daughter asked me if I want to be a me mom. No, I do not want to be a me mom either. So I'm not ready for any of my children to make me a grandma because I'm still getting adjusted to the fact that they're all old enough to drink. So I do not need them bringing me any babies. So I'm sure I'm in the minority on that opinion because most people are like, "Oh, when are you going to get married? When are you going to make me a grandma?" You can make me a grandma never, and we'll call it even. How about that? You go enjoy your life. Don't rush to bring me any children, any grandchildren. So I watched. I wrote down a couple things that I watched this week. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and most of the podcasts I listen to are about like they're usually comedians, and they usually talk about like the news or pop culture, like movie reviews, that sort of thing. And practically everybody, every podcast I listen to has been talking about these two Netflix documentary. Well, one's a Netflix documentary, one is a Hulu documentary about the Fire Festival. Um, and for those of you, the few of you out there who never heard of the Fire Festival, because I mean, well, I can't say the few of you because I only heard about it because I listen to a lot of business news, so I heard it that way. But if you don't hang out listening to Marketplace on NPR or um, hang out on Instagram or social media a lot, then you may not have heard of it. Basically, it was a festival where it was supposed to be a music festival. It was supposed to be a luxury music festival on a secluded Caribbean island. And the guy who created the festival basically couldn't pull it together. And instead of admitting, excuse me, nose was itchy. Instead of admitting that he couldn't pull it together, he kept getting more and more money from people and saying it's going to be wonderful, it's going to be wonderful. And then when the people got out there, they were basically in FEMA tents with mattresses that had been rained on, and instead of sushi and lobster and stuff, they were giving cold cheese sandwiches, and it was it was a mess. Um, so I watched the Netflix one. There's competing documentaries because Hulu interviewed one set of people who were involved in the situation, and Netflix interviewed another set of people who are involved in the situation. So you kind of get different points of view from the different documentaries. Um, and all the podcasters were talking about it. So I finally gave in and watched the video, which just the Netflix documentary, which just came out last week, I think. Last week or maybe the week before. It's only been out a couple weeks. Um, And watching that documentary got me thinking. The reason I mentioned it is because watching that documentary and hearing people talk about that documentary um, got me thinking about these social media influencers, um, and how on earth that is a job. How are they? It seems like a lot of things without getting, hopefully this doesn't start to sound too political or whatever, because I don't like to go down that road. But it just seems like more and more things in this country, my job included, because I don't do anything with my hands either. So, myself included. Um, most of our jobs in this country mo- seem to be made out of thin air. It's like these social media influencers make money by talking about somebody else's product on their their Instagram account or their Facebook account or their Twitter account, and then they get paid to talk about it. And it's like, how's that a job? And how do they make so much money that, because watching the documentary, there was some people on that documentary, because he was like, the guy who was running the festival was running out of money. So he came up with this thing of these wristbands where people put their money, put money on the RFID wristband so that when they're at the festival, they can just, wave the wristband to pay for drinks and food and whatever, which none of that stuff was there, but they didn't know that yet. And so people were putting $800,000 on a wristband. And I'm like, how do you have $800,000 to put on a wristband when all you do is talk about somebody's lipstick on Instagram? I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. But that's where this channel, this my YouTube channel here started. I started this channel to talk about how I feel young and old at the same time, aged and confused. Because I feel young, but there's parts of me that feel old. And this is this is one where I feel old. It's like, how is that a job? You know, even though my job is just moving bits around in cyberspace too, but I'm at least sending information to insurance companies so they know what kind of physical exam the doctor gave a person so they know what to pay for. That's part of what medical coding is. And I don't, again, it's still moving bits around, but it just seems a little less ephemeral than just talking about somebody's lipstick or whatever and getting paid for it. It's, and that made me think that I've been before I watched the Fire Festival. I had been thinking about this, and so it made me think even more. It kind of cemented my idea of me trying to make money talking to people on a YouTube channel where all I'm doing is talking about, hey, I watched something on TV, or hey, I read this book. Why should somebody want to pay for that? Well, I don't. Why should somebody want to pay for that? Maybe if I had some sort of expertise in the area or something, then you'd want to pay for it. But why? Maybe if I worked, say, in the publishing industry and had some advanced degree in English or something, maybe my opinion would weigh a little more than somebody else's. But why? I don't understand why people would want to pay for that. But that led into today. I was watching Route 66, the old TV show, which I had never watched before because it just had never been, it wasn't one of those shows that when I was a kid, there used to be shows in syndication, old reruns of I Love Lucy and Dick Van Dyke, that sort of thing, Brady Bunch, that sort of thing. But Route 66 was never one that ended up in the reruns, although Martin Milner's other TV show, Adam 12, was a show. Okay, Valencia says that she can barely hear me, so I'll try to talk a little louder. I tend to, the more I'm talking, I tend to talk more quietly. So I'll try to, thank you for the reminder. I'll try to speak up better. Um, but Route 66 was never one of those shows that was available in reruns. So I never watched it until now, but now Tubi TV has it in reruns, and well, reruns. Of course, everything is reruns when it was 1966 when it was on. But anyway, it was Tubi TV has it where you can watch it for free. If you've never watched Tubi TV, they have a bunch of old stuff. A lot of it is kind of B movies or junk. You know, a lot of documentaries on there are junk, so I steer away from those. But they do have some classic TV on there, and they've got all four seasons of Route 66, and you don't even they supposedly show commercials, but so far I watched two full episodes and they didn't interrupt with a commercial yet. Some movies they do interrupt a lot with commercials, and some they don't interrupt hardly any with commercials. So I guess it depends on what you're watching. I hope Valencia, I hope you can hear me a little bit better. Um, but the the premise of Route 66, if you're not old enough, like my daughter, if you're not old enough to have seen it, the premise of Route 66 is that there are these two guys who are just moving around the country doing odd jobs. The one guy was kind of a privileged guy who his father had owned this company, and so he was a college student and everything. And the other guy had worked for the first guy's father. And well, the father died. Turns out the business wasn't doing as well as he, as the son thought it was. So he sold everything to make sure all the creditors were paid and everything. So all he was left with was this Corvette that he had driven while he was at college. So that's all he's left with. So he's driving down with his friend who used to work with his father, um, to work on this shrimp boat. And then they get to the shrimp boat, and it turns out the friend who owned the shrimp boat has sold it. So then they move on to the next place. And it's like they're just moving on to place, trying to figure out where they're going to settle down, trying to find work. And so I'm watching this, and it occurs to me, it's like, could anybody do that nowadays? Is that still something that people can do? I mean, because it seems like you have to have a steady address and every you can't if it seems like you can't just drop in somewhere and go, hey, do you have any work going? And they'll like hire you for a week. And I mean, even with a temp agency or something like that, you have to you have to give them so much information. It's like, does day labor even exist anymore? Is what I was wondering. But then I was thinking, well, maybe at one time it may have been tough, like in the 80s or 90s to do that. But I think maybe with with now that we're in the gig economy with stuff like driving for Uber and shopping for Instacart and stuff like that, I bet you could move around the country and still work. Although it's a little bit different, it's not the same as moving to a place and then showing up somewhere and saying, "Hey, do do you have some work going, that I can do?" Okay, Valencia, can't see. Oh, what am I working on? Okay, yeah, that's right, because you're tuning in. This is a live stream. I am working on um I'm working on a square. This is for the stash busting sampler Afghan crochet along, and it's at the Unraveled Mitten blog. She has two squares up so far, and I'm behind because I'm just now working on the first square. Um, because as I was telling my daughter earlier, I I didn't do very well this week on getting stuff done. I took pictures of stuff, which is on my Instagram, but I didn't do very well getting anything else done other than taking pictures of stuff I've done over the past 2 weeks. I finished up over the past 2 weeks. I'm hoping that next week, Valencia, I'm hoping that next week I will have more to show. Like I said last week, I'm getting off to a slow start with my stitching, so there isn't a whole lot for me to show. Valencia says that she's knitting dishcloths for her sisters and coworkers. You know, I was looking in my um Ravelry queue because I was trying to update things to see what I had pictures of and what I didn't have pictures of. And I was looking in my Ravelry queue and saw that I had put this like Celtic dishcloth in my queue age 2 years ago. And I had meant to start it and I never did. So that might be the next thing up that I do after I get these Afghan squares done because I have um I'm sorry, my headache is coming on, so I'm starting to ramble. Um I have a small sachet of cotton. Well, thank you, Valencia. Thank you. I'm still surprised that you're not the first person to say that they're happy to see me back, and I'm surprised that anybody wants to watch me, especially since I don't get nearly as much done stitching as other people do. So I feel like a bit of a fraud sometimes because I don't have very much to show. So I try to think of other things to talk about because I don't have very much stitching to show. But but yeah, there's a dishcloth. I will try to remember to link it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write that down. That I'm thinking of. It's Celtic, and so it makes like a Celtic knot. And so I'm thinking I may go ahead and make that because right now, let's see, daughter mine is working on a Tree of Life dream catcher tatting. You know what? I've never tried tatting before, but I have looked into it several times, but I've never tried it because you know me, you're my daughter, you know me. I don't um I like to make things I can use. I don't make a lot of things that are decorative, like wall hanging type things. And so I haven't tried tatting yet because I couldn't find a reason, or something that I would make that I could actually use. I'm always interested in trying different crafts, but then I push back against that because it's not anything that I can use. That's why I like things like Afghans and dishcloths and things like that because they're things that you can use. Just like when I had my garden 5 or 6 years ago, briefly, um, I grew vegetables. I never grew flowers because although I like to see flowers in other people's gardens, I don't want to put in the effort to grow something that I can't eat. So or use, if I was to grow herbs, I would grow herbs that I could make tea out of, or herbs that could be used in like maybe making soap or, making some sort of herbal cough syrup or something like that. I like, if I'm going to make, because I feel like it takes me longer than other people to do things. My husband would probably say the same thing because I'm a slow person. I'm just a slow talker. I'm a slow mover. I'm just a slow person. It takes me. You knit what you can use and wear. Yeah, I'm coming, wall hangings, I'm coming around to the idea of wall hangings because now I look around my house and I look around other people's houses. And my husband said this years ago when we first bought this house. He rushed to buy a bunch of stuff because he wanted it to have, because we bought our house later than everybody else in our peer group. So all of our like people he went to high school with and people that he worked with and stuff, people in our peer group had already had houses for a while. And so their houses looked lived in. They had things on the walls and little tchotchkes on the shelves and things like that that reflected their personalities and stuff. And my husband, if he could have bought, lived in house, kit off the shelf from Walmart, he would have done that because he wanted to immediately turn this house into something that was on the same level of like my sister and her and our friends and stuff like that. But they all had houses for a long time. They had picked out stuff slowly as they saw, oh, this is my personality, this is my taste, this is what I wanted, you know. Whereas my husband would have been happy with, like rooms to go. Now you go rooms to go, and the whole room is decorated with the wall hangings and everything. If we could have afforded that, he would have done that in every room. I'll just take this whole room, just plop it in our house because he was in such a rush to have it look lived in. Whereas I kind of talked him out of it somewhat. You know, I Valencia says she's trying to make her apartment look like adults live here and not just the dog and cat. I and I get your feeling because even after all these years, because I talked my husband into not just rushing out and buying because he was just buying stuff just to have stuff up on the walls. He wasn't slowing down and thinking about, oh, this is my taste or this is not my taste. He was just rushing to buy stuff so that our house could immediately look like we were grown-ups living in this house. And and I talked him out of that, but now I'm looking around our house going, okay, we could have, I mean, it's not like, we've lived in this house for quite a while. It's been We've been in this house almost 15 years, I think. And we do have some things up on the walls because, you know, all my daughters are artistic, and well, one of them does not admit to being artistic, but one of them, my eldest daughter, revealed that she was artistic after she moved out, so we're just both surprised by that. One of my twins is an art major, and so we knew she was artistic from the get-go, but she's not even really the one who draws a lot for the house. Her sister, the other twin, is very artistic, but if you and she draws really well, but and paints well too. But if you say it to her out loud, she will deny it and stop immediately. So I try not to comment on it too much. But she's artistic as well. So we do have a few things. Okay, my daughter says we've been here 16 years. Your 10th birthday, are you sure? Yes, Valencia. My husband wanted the house to look like a home really quick, like we were adults. And we do have some things that were we don't have the same taste, and so we clashed a lot. So I that was not the as far as decorating the house, that was not the hill I wanted to die on, as I'm often fond of saying. So I let him pick most of the stuff he wanted to pick. If he asked me an opinion, I give him my opinion, but I let him pick mostly what he wanted to pick because I didn't want to argue over it. So a lot of stuff in my house is not really my taste. But now that we're kind of to the point where I don't think he would care if I put stuff up now. Whereas he was very like, I want this or I want that. But I don't think he would care if I put stuff up now. So now I'm feeling like um I want to create some things to put on the wall. My daughters have already created a few things. There are a few things, mostly presents that they've given their father. Father's Day, birthday, they don't know what to give him and they don't have any money. So they draw him a picture. So we have a few things like that on the wall in the dens. But I want to put more stuff like that up downstairs and replace some of the stuff that. Okay, daughter mine, Valencia's saying hello to you. Don't be rude. Um, so I used to say I didn't want to make things that I couldn't use, but now the long and short of it is now I'm more willing to do some wall hangings to put in our own house that reflect our personality. I see the value in it more so than I did before. Um, but as far as tatting, I don't know how I turn that into a wall hanging. So, and I'm not one of those people to make doilies or antimascars, as they used to be called, to go on the arms of the chairs or whatever. But I still want to try tatting. I just don't know what I'd use it for. Excuse me. So, so I think we're looking at an hour here, and quite honestly, my just in case we needed an MS check. I stopped crocheting because my hands were starting to numb a little bit. I'm getting a little bit hot in here, and the vision in my right eye is going a little bit. Well, I wasn't going to give your name out. If you want to give your name out, you can. I wasn't going to out you that way, just in case you were trying to be stealth in there in the chat room, daughter mine. Um, excuse me. So we're closing in on an hour. So I'm probably going to stop this. Thank you to the two people who showed up for the live chat. I appreciate it. Um, oh, my hair. My daughter mentioned my hair. Um, in case you can't tell, which I'm sure most of you can. As the kids say, I'm living that wig life. So I felt like whatever. So so I thought I'd throw on one of my hair pieces so I could look cute for the video. Although as bad as this camera is, I don't know that it makes much of a difference. Um, I will be back here next week. I still haven't started doing the videos for my books because I don't really know for reading books. I mean, because goodness knows I'm not writing one. Um, because I still haven't managed to work in doing the book reviews. So I haven't done any videos. I don't know if I want to do a separate video. I'm still mulling that over. But I don't think anybody who, thanks, Valencia. Thanks. Thanks. Like I said in my other video, I'll be throwing the hair pieces on from time to time when I don't feel like doing too much to my hair, although this hairpiece is too fancy for this t-shirt. But um, daughter mine, I don't know. I was trying every Saturday. I aim toward trying to do it around 4 p.m. because that's when it's still light coming in the window. But every week, I seem to have something like this week. Your sister needed to use the computer because she's taking classes too, so she had to get some homework done. So I didn't have the computer available to me. We're sharing a computer right now, she and I. So, but roughly around 4, 5 ish. Um, I hesitate to schedule and put an announcement up because I don't want people sitting here waiting for me and then I'm not here. So, um, but roughly around 4, 5 o'clock. Yeah, daughter mine does a little bit of this and a little bit of that, Valencia. I don't know where she became so artistic. I don't know where it came from. But she wasn't like that in high school. But so so as I said, I haven't done separate videos for my books. I think what I'm going to do is starting next week, I will do knitting and crochet content up front. Then I'll talk about what books I've been reading. And then if I watched anything interesting, I'll do that. And I'll just talk about it all in the same video. And I'll let you guys know the divide in between. So if you don't, I'm pretty sure most of you, I've got some new subscribers this week, like Bethany. I think her channel is called The Naughty something. The Naughty, I want to say The Naughty Squirrel, but that can't be right. The Naughty something. I'm looking. I'm looking. Where did I? Yeah, you get to see me scrunch my face up while I look at my phone. Let's see. The Naughty Moose. The Naughty Moose, yes. That's what it is. The Naughty Moose. She's only got a couple videos up, but I like her vibe. Honestly, she reminds me of my daughter a little bit. The daughter who's in the chat. Who guest star on my channel sometime. Ha 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 ha. Well, that was one thing that I meant to do this week. I know I said I'm wrapping this up, but that was one thing that I meant to do this week because I've seen people do live streams where they have like the other person's picture down in the corner, and I didn't know how to do that. So, um, yeah, Valencia, we live 2 hours away from each other. So I would have to figure out the tech for us to be on the same video. But I would love that because then she and I could talk and I wouldn't just be sitting here rambling like I'm doing right now. So if I could figure out the tech to do that, then then I would love to have her on with me so I can have somebody to bounce my conversation off of because I always think that I like videos with two people. I mean, I watch videos with one person, but I like videos with two people because then they talk to each other, they bounce things off of each other. It's fun that way. So, okay. So that's the end of this live stream. We are at 1 hour and 8 minutes. And um I feel my energy flagging and my forehead tightening. So I need to go get some food. That's right. You're not blind, so you can read the chat. Good for you. Although your eyesight is just as bad as mine. I don't know what you're talking about. You wear glasses too. Your eyesight is just as bad as mine, but maybe you can read the chat. Maybe your prescription in your glasses is newer than mine. Maybe you can read the chat better because I can't read it very well. So next week, hopefully I'll have more stuff done. If I have time, I'll figure out how to bring my daughter into the chat. Yeah, you didn't miss a lot, Valencia. It was not very good. And as I said in my other video, I'm doing the live streams because it's easier than setting up a regular video and trying to import it into YouTube. If I just do it live, then it just goes right up and it takes a few minutes and it's all good. So I'm doing most of my videos this way now because it's just easier for me. So so you can always go back sometime tomorrow and see what I babbled about in the beginning. Like I said, it wasn't much. But see you next Saturday for Saturday stitching. And hopefully, all of you have good stitching this coming week. And I'll see you next week. Bye.